Hi there, Chaucey. My name is Ellen, and I'll be correcting this set of essays for you. I'm very happy to see that you have submitted a set of essays in order to prepare for IELTS. Good job starting there. So let's take a look at what you wrote. Let's see. The topic is governments in many countries have recently introduced special taxes on foods and beverages with high levels of sugar. Some think these taxes are a good idea, while others disagree. Discuss both views. Okay, so let's see what you did here. There is a heated controversy about whether governments should impose sugar tax on specific foods and drinks. Some people claim that higher taxes could serve as a remedy for an unhealthy diet, while others argue, without that S, that it would affect people's diet freedom. In my opinion, I firmly disagree with this policy. Okay, let's see. I liked everything. I don't really love the expression diet freedom just because it doesn't really make a commonly accepted collocation. It's okay if you have collocations that are less common, but I don't even think diet freedom really makes a collocation. Maybe dietary freedom would have been better here. But it definitely felt a little awkward to me as I read it. Other than that, I thought you did a nice job. So let's move forward. Let's see. On the one hand, increasing the price. Now, careful here. It's a new paragraph. So when you say the price of what? Make sure that what you're referring to is absolutely clear in your body paragraph, especially in that first sentence. So on the one hand, the increasing the price of foods and drinks does discourage the consumption of high-calorie foods. From an economic perspective, the product's consumption is inversely proportional to its price, which means that there would be fewer people purchasing, ing here, high-fat products. As a result, the improvement would be seen in obesity and diet-related disease. Careful here with the syntax. So, as a result, the improvement would be seen in the rate of obesity and diet-related diseases, okay? For example, Daily Mail reported that over 60% of people turned to store up high sugar content food and materials before policy came into effect to avoid spending more money. Careful with your grammar here. Let's fix it. The Daily Mail reported that over 60% of people began to maybe hoard, maybe store, let's see, I know what you're trying to say. You're trying to say that people basically purchased a lot of these high sugar, high fat content foods when the law was released, when it was announced, but before it came into effect. This is what you're trying to say. What I'm trying to come up with is a way to say it that sounds fluid and is fluent and is accurate. And that's what I'm having a little trouble with. So let's try it one more time. For example, the Daily Mail reported that over 60% of people started stockpiling, maybe this is the word you want, started stockpiling high sugar content food materials before the new tax policy, make it clear which policy you're talking about, came into effect to avoid spending more money. Thus, collecting higher taxes on some foods may be just plausible at the theoretical level. Okay. Now, one of the things that we really have to concern ourselves with is in task 2 is making sure that we have a central idea in each paragraph. So, the way we introduce that central idea is through our topic sentence, okay? So, your topic sentence here was, increasing the price does discourage the consumption of high-calorie food. So, in other words, what are you telling us in this paragraph? You're telling us that, you know what, yeah, this kind of policy, there is validity to it. It is effective. So, yeah, this is what I'm going to talk about in this paragraph. But as I continued reading this, what you wrote is actually, I don't want to say the opposite, but it does tend to kind of lean against what the initial thought in your paragraph was. Here you said that it's just plausible at the theoretical level. So in other words, yeah, okay, it sounds great in theory, but in reality it doesn't work. Okay, so while I thought that you were going to talk about I thought you were going to be in favor of this new policy. In the end, you were not. And so you did not have a central idea in this paragraph, and that will absolutely affect your coherence and cohesion grade. Okay, so you have to be very consistent. What you start off talking about in your introduction is what you need to continue talking about throughout the paragraph. Okay, and that's not what happened here. So let's move on. Let's say, on the other hand, health education and promoting regular exercise could solve the health problem of all ages from the origin. You don't mean from the origin here. You want another word here. The expression I think you're looking at is at the source. It's a more accurate way of saying this in English. To begin with, it is everyone's legal right to choose what to eat. Manual laborers and people suffering hypoglycemia need to take foods with high calories to keep themselves energetic. Besides, the reason why a restriction on high sugar foods is ineffective is because policy, with a Y, not E, that's police. So policy makers have VE to balance the strength of taxing and influencing manufacturers and individuals, which makes the regulation exist in Maine only. Okay, you have to explain this. What do you mean by that? Don't just leave it there hanging. Actually go into some detail as to what this means. However, it is feasible to introduce basic health courses to schools to reduce the enthusiasm towards snacks and beverages by telling the consequence of an unhealthy, with a Y, diet to children, such as high blood pressure, hyperglycemia, or heart disease. They, who is the they? I guess the children, okay, would think twice the next time they want to drink cola. Okay, again, some word changes. Additionally, the government could allocate funds to hold regular sport events with money, with a monetary award, and increase individuals' access to stadiums to boost people's motivation for exercise, is how you want to say that there. All right, this was a rather long paragraph. It sounds to me kind of like you treated this like a problem and solution paragraph essay. That's not what this is. Let's look at the task again to see what they asked you to talk about. So, a special tax on food. This is a great idea. This is a terrible idea. So in this paragraph, you were supposed to talk about why this was a great idea, why some people think it is a great idea. And in this paragraph, you were supposed to talk about why it's a terrible idea. You did that a little bit in the beginning, all right, but then here somewhere in the middle, again, you kind of shifted gears and you went into a different direction, and you started treating this like a problem and solution essay, with this paragraph being about solutions, like, oh, well, this would solve a problem and this would be effective, and that's not what they've asked you to talk about. Okay, there are ways where you could suggest some of these things, but you have to be careful about how you present them so it doesn't sound like you're not answering the question. And that's effectively what happened here. Like I said, here, up to which point? Up to around somewhere in the beginning to about here, I thought you did a good job. You were saying, like, look, one reason why this is not effective is because there are people who absolutely rely on high-calorie foods. You cannot tax them because they have a medical issue that requires high-calorie food. So this made sense to me, and this was appropriate. What you needed to do was you needed to come up with at least one additional reason. One would have been enough. Why this is such a bad idea, and then support that with some examples, some support, some proof, some explanation, and so forth. You kind of got off topic here. And as this seems to be a theme, a running theme with this essay, that, yeah, okay, there are some good elements, but then you start getting off topic. And so you really need to kind of rein everything back in order to get back on topic, okay? So let's get your conclusion. In conclusion, the cited evidence provides strong support for the view that levying higher taxes on sugar-based foods, it's not just sugar, it's also just high calorie, high fat, if I remember correctly, is not a reasonable method to deal with health problems. I believe that popularizing ing health knowledge and motivating people to do sports will be more useful. Okay, fine. That was fine, except for, a couple little grammar errors. There were grammar errors consistently throughout this essay. They didn't impede communication. That's a good thing. They were just consistent enough and serious enough so it slowed down the reader. But that's pretty much it. So what I want to do now is I want to go to your task 1, and we can talk about the whole set more holistically. Okay, so here we've got rainfall in the UK. Let's see what you said. The graph illustrates changes in the amounts of monthly rainfall in England, Scotland, and Wales in 2018. In January, the figure of rainfall in England was similar with Scotland, with approximately 110 and 120 ml respectively. During these 12 months period, the England rainfall stably increased to 130 in December, although it flowed up and down several times. Okay, let's see. There are some things I would want to change in this paragraph. So it sounds to me like you decided right after your introduction to go straight into the details. That's okay. You can do that. My personal preference is to first go into an overview and then into your details. But this is fine too. You decided to go into your details. But what the problem here is that you didn't really go into very much detail. What did you tell us? You told us that England and Scotland had similar rain. You said where they both started. And then you told us the only data you gave us for England was that end figure. Where is that? 100 and increased to 130. There it is. Okay. Yeah, so that's not really a lot. What do we know? We know where it began, we know where it ended, and we just know that it fluctuated. And that's it. This is the wrong word. It flowed up and down. The word is fluctuated. So we don't have a ton of information here. Okay? I have no idea what happened in the middle of the year, after January. I only know those 2 months. And so that's a little, it's a little short on details. Okay? So let's look at your next paragraph. Additionally, in Scotland, a fierce fluctuation could be seen. I don't really like that fierce. It's not a particular collocation that feels really natural. So a major fluctuation, a great fluctuation, that would be better, could be seen in the first 4 months. That's a better choice, with the highest rainfall in March, 140 ml, and the lowest in February. Then, comma, its rainfall rose back to 110. When did it go back to 110? With a plummet in November to 50. All right, so what have you told us about Scotland? You told us where it began. We know that. We know what happened in March. We know what happened in February. And then we know this 110, although we don't know what it refers to. And then we know where it ended. All right. So the good news is that you picked out, I think, the important information about Scotland. You picked out this beginning. You picked out this low. You picked out this high. You picked out the second low, and then you picked out the end. The only thing, and now I'm really, really picking on details, is that I wanted you to kind of highlight that this was the end point. Let's see, here. Then it's rainfall. You could have, I would have changed this. Then it's rainfall. You know what? That's what was confusing about this. Look what you said here. So you talked about March, okay, you talked about February, and then, so we don't have any information about Scotland from March until November, all right, and so I'm really missing quite a bit of the picture here, right? Look, March and then November is all the way here. So what would have been good is to have talked about maybe some of those fluctuations. Tell me that in the remaining months it fluctuated from, what's that, like 40 to... It did experience a second high, so it wouldn't have been a bad idea to mention this, all right? It wasn't just that high in March. There was also the second high in October. So you could have mentioned that, and then mention November, and then tell us where it ends. That's pretty important, but highlight where it ends, because you threw this in here, this 110, but I didn't know what it was referring to, okay? So let's look at Wales. The rainfall in Wales was only 48 ml at the beginning of 2018, which was lower than a half of England and Scotland. Together, separately, I don't know. However, it approached a peak in July, 140 ml, that was equal to that of England. So you're telling me that Wales and England had the same peak? Okay, and that's how you say it grammatically. After that, monthly rainfall dropped back to 52 ml, keeping the same with the initial figure. Now, so what are you telling me? That from July, it fell in Wales to 52. Again, I really feel like we're missing part of the story here. Wales fell to not 52, but it fell to under 50 for those 3 months. It had a jump here over 100 in November, and then it fell to around 52. So I do again feel like we're missing some information. If you don't want to include all of that, then at least say that there was fluctuation. There was a low, there was a high. For me, this piece of information is really important, this plateau here, okay? Because it is in fact the only plateau we have anywhere in this entire chart. So for me, I have pinpointed around 15 pieces of information that I think are very important to include. I'll show you what they are. So starting with England, it's obviously point 1, point 2, the beginning and the end, and then 3, 4, 5. Okay, because you have the beginning, you have the low, you have these 3 peaks. That last peak is also the end, and that's it. Okay, for Scotland, you have point 1, the beginning, point 2, this low, point 3, I put these together actually, 3 and 4, those are your 2 peaks, and then 0.5 where it ends. And then for Wales, the things that are the most important: 1, 2, 3, 4, this plateau, and 5. That's pretty much it. Okay, so you have a lot of things right here, but there are some things that I still want to fix here. Now I want to look really, really quickly at your overview. So overall, England's rainfall was generally at a high level all year round, while Scotland and Wales saw many significant changes in 2018. Okay, that's all right. There were other ways to say this that maybe sounded a little more accurate. You could have just said that overall of the 3 regions, England had the highest average rainfall. That would have been a right way to say this, okay? So you've got, like I said, a lot of nice elements to your writing. You're definitely on the right track, but we need to pull all of that together to make it all come together, and that will help you get that high score that I'm sure you need. I'd like to see you signing up for essay corrections. You've got the right structure, you've got a lot of the right information that you need to get started, but it's pulling together everything. So sign up for essay corrections. I think if you found this feedback helpful, you'll find the essay corrections really helpful. Of course, there's also the online course, which is really more comprehensive. It covers everything. So that could be a great choice for you, because I don't know really what you're doing with the reading and listening and so forth. So check that out as well. But I really would like to see us working with you so we can help you reach your IELTS goals. Okay, so thanks for writing in, and I look forward to hearing from you. Good luck.